and welcome back to the Sweet Tea series. I'm your host, Taylor Dawson, and I am joined by Nikki Pressley. Nikki, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Every time I say your name, the song pops in my head. Oh, Nikki, you're so fine.
Oh
You're
my
so fine.
gosh. That's so funny because when I was a kid, people would always sing it to me.
Is it like triggering for you now?
No, it's just funny. It brings back like childhood memories that I don't think about.
Well, now that you're in the right frame of reference to talk about what you do here at the foundation.
Yes, I am the Texas State Director for Right on Crime and Chief of Staff for Right on Crime. So I kind of handle our Texas portfolio and then also do a lot of like strategy and admin stuff for all of our other state directors as well. I've been here like 4.5 years and it took me a while to get to this point.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And you're so young for being here for 4 years. Like it's hard to believe. Okay. How did you get involved in policy? I think that's the question that, especially because you are so young, it's like, how did you get here? Did you like major in political science? Like, did you have this goal of like, I saw this show and now I'm going to end up in Washington, D.C. as a lawyer one day?
Not at all. I seriously did not know what I wanted to do with my life. I started college thinking I was going to be a teacher. And then my freshman year, I had to take like, it's called like teaching math or like math for educators, where you have to like learn how to teach math. And I had to volunteer at an after school tutoring program. And I did that. And I was like, no, I cannot manage a classroom. I cannot be in a room with 20 kids all day, every day. So I was immediately like, okay, teaching's not for me. I changed my major to human development and family science just because it interests me. Like, I had no idea what I was going to do with it. I was just like, yeah, it feels right, and I'll figure it out along the way. So then I thought I was going to do child life, be a child life specialist.
That's right. We've talked about this a lot because I wanted to be like, I went to school to be a teacher, and then I thought I wanted to be a child life specialist. So wait, can you talk about what that is? Because I feel like people need to know what this is.
Yes, it's essentially someone who works in a hospital, in a children's hospital, or also with adults who are undergoing surgeries or end of life care and stuff like that. But it's someone who kind of explains to a child at their developmental level what's going on, or if they're going to get a procedure, you know, they'll use dolls and show them on the doll, and it just makes them a little bit more comfortable. It's like a social worker inside a hospital.
Yeah.
So I took that class, and I once again was like, I will get so burnt out. Like, this would just kill me after a few years. So I finally took a family law and policy class, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do.
Nice.
So then I decided to pursue the master's program that my school had, which was like a 4-year plus 1 year, like a 4+1
So
program.
like you're there for 5 years and you leave with the master's?
Yes. Yeah. So I decided to do that. And so my master's is a Master of Science in Educational Psychology, but my focus was family policy. And I graduated at 21, and
See, people, when I say she's young, like legitimately, like
it's honestly kind of weird to talk about because I never used to talk about my age, but now that I'm a little bit older, I feel a little more comfortable talking about it. But I graduated when I was 21, and I needed...
With a master's?
No, 22 with a master's, but 21 undergrad.
Okay.
And I needed a internship for grad school, so I quite literally Googled. I was like, family policy, Texas. Like, and so I came across TPPF, and I knew nothing. Like, I did not like history growing up, was not into political science. My only C I've ever made was in history. So I was not meant to be in this industry, if you look at my history. But I just like really resonated with what TPPF was doing on the child welfare side, because I think I have a little bit more of a conservative approach, like a family-centered approach to child welfare. And it really resonated with me. So I begged for an internship, and I interned, and then I begged for a job. Shout out to Andrew Brown.
Good job, Andrew.
Yes, he definitely advocated for me. And so I was hired. I started here when I was 21. And just kind of worked my way through child welfare and then juvenile justice and criminal justice, and now I'm here, which I never thought I would be doing criminal justice, but
amazing. Well, like so many parallels. I think it's so fun hearing stories like yours because it's similar to mine in the sense that, you never thought you'd end up in policy. And just because you just keep exploring, you keep learning about different things, and you realize, like, I think there's something like a tie with, like, I think a lot of people in policy or just in the nonprofit sector in general is that we all want to make a difference. We want to solve problems, but we want to solve problems on a very large scale. And it's so interesting because when you get into this field, you see how nuanced everything is.
Yes.
You see how hard it is to change things.
And I know comms, I know I drive them crazy because they'll be trying to tweet something and I'm like, but you gotta say it. Like, there's like all these stipulations and it's like, they're like, we just need a soundbite.
there's this like delicate dance with like comms and policy of like, okay, we have to sound like a human, but we have to be a smart human, but we can't sound too technical because then we'll lose the audience. And like, it's this constant like back forth.
Yeah, but I like what you said about, I think everyone in this space definitely wants to help people. And that's what, I mean, just all through college, I was like, I know I want to help like families. I know I want to help people. I just don't know how I'm going to do that. And so I kind of just went with, the doors that were opening, trusted God. I still am doing that. Yeah. I mean, somebody asked me where I see myself in 5 years. I was like, I don't know, continuing to push myself and challenge myself and learn and pray on it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really cool how you can look back and for anyone, like even me, it's like you look back and you slowly see this cord that tied all of these things together. Yeah. Like as I was hearing you say, like teacher to child life specialist to like health and family, and then like what was it?
Family law and policy.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, I'm pretty sure I heard law in there, but I don't mess that up. Yeah. And you just see this like little tie that's there. And so, for anyone in like college or people who are maybe like in a life transition state, it just sounds like a really common theme with a lot of our guests is that they just kept learning about their interests and eventually developed into a really cool career set.
Yes, for sure. And I think I'm still doing that.
Yeah.
Especially with my new role as chief of staff. I basically told my boss, Brett, I was like, I actually really like doing administrative stuff. Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So maybe we should, use one of my strengths and like expand my role. And I think it's worked out pretty well. I've provided a little bit more organization, but I definitely am still learning.
Yeah. I like that. Well, one, I think big benefit being here at the foundation is that they do kind of let you grow into your own. It's not like they have prescribed job sets where it's like you feel this and you only do this and this is your trajectory up. I love that they like help us explore our talents. And I'm like, why do more organizations not do that? It just makes so much sense for like the efficiency.
I agree. And I think during legislative session especially, it is so apparent to me every single session how everyone is in such a correct role for their strengths. Like it's like everyone's at the top of their game and it's just we are a well-oiled machine. And I always just look around and I'm like, I am around so many talented people who are just thriving.
Yeah.
Like, it inspires me.
Yeah. And it's like TPPF is one of those places where it's like it's kind of hard. Like once you get here, for me, it's like hard to envision leaving because you can kind of like make what you want out of it.
Oh yeah.
And use your strengths, and it's very fulfilling to do that. And like you were such a prime example of that.
Yeah, I just am, super grateful for all of the people who believed in me along the way because I had no experience in this. I just really wanted to learn. I was like very eager. I think that that's actually some advice that I would give.
Heck yeah.
To younger people, younger women especially, but I think that if you are just willing to learn and listen and just really dive into it and work as hard as you can, that counts for so much more than like maybe your degree or your experience.
I could not agree with you more.
Yeah.
I think for me, my desire to learn and to just be all in is what got me like 90% where I am today. Of just like, I'm willing to work. Yeah. And I want to learn about this.
Yeah.
And it's like been this ping pong everywhere, but it's like you develop into a very well-rounded person when you're that way. So absolutely people need to be self-starters and lifelong learners, which leads me to a family. Do you like these transitions?
Oh yeah, I love it.
Into our pop culture with principles. There's this one family out there and they are just
Who?
so innovative, and they have become like industry leaders. And it's on a TV show that starts with a K. Do you know what this could be?
Not my Kardashian babies.
Yeah, the Keeping Up with the Kardashians. So you and I bonded over the fact that it's like our little secret. That's like we secretly just like love to watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians / now the Kardashians.
Yes. The Kardashians on Hulu.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's right. They did a whole
It's
like
very
Hulu
branded.
premiere. How could it not be? That is
Yeah.
like their brand is being on brand.
Yes.
That
Oh,
is-
actually, that's such a good point. That is literally their brand.
Why do you think it is that we're so drawn into TV shows like this?
Well, I think it's multiple reasons for me.
Yeah.
I think it's a great way for me to kind of turn my brain off and just watch people kind of have fun, right? It's just entertainment. But also I find it fascinating because it's such a different reality than I think 99% of people live in.
Yeah.
So I love to see like Kendall Jenner try to cut a cucumber.
That is like, I don't know why out of all, like my sister brought that up the other day when I was cooking for Thanksgiving. She's like, do you know how to cook it, like cut a cucumber? And I was like, what kind of question is that?
Yeah.
And she's like, are you going to do it wow, what's her name?
Kendall.
The Kindle way. I almost said Kylie. The Kindle way. And I was like, is that a thing? Like, I remember that episode. Is that a thing?
Yeah, I mean, poor girl.
When her mom was like, I'll just get the private chef to go cut it for you. And she goes, Mom, I can cut my own cucumber.
Yeah.
It was like, ooh, she can cut her own cucumber.
Yeah, cool it, Mom.
Literally.
Oh, I had a question for you about the Kardashians.
Oh.
Sorry. The tables have turned, Taylor. If you had to, like, you got to go to dinner, okay, and you had to choose 2 of the Kardashian Jenners or their spouses, if you would like, who would they be and why?
Oh, man. Does Kanye count as a partner?
Sure, he can count, yeah. I mean, he was a character in the show, so, or, well, sort of.
Oh, man, what a good question. Oh, I want to meet all of them individually and just be like, why?
Yeah.
How?
How?
Tell me more. Like, that's all I would say during the whole dinner and just hope that they talk. I feel like I definitely want to talk to Kim, and I would want to talk to Courtney.
Oh, why? What would you want to ask her?
Be like, Courtney, how? Why? But like specifically, like she's just had like this total flip of like super destructive relationship to she's finding herself. She gets very healthy. I think she had a little Jesus moment, and then she got married to what's his name?
Travis.
Yeah. And just
I'm like really exposing myself for how much I watch. I'm like, oh, Travis, yeah.
we go way back. That like her whole story is just like, whoa, sister, like what is going on here? It was just like almost like she's coming back full circle, except she's in love this time. Like,
And she actually is really inspiring as well because she did that whenever she wasn't 25, 30. She,
Yeah.
you know, she's in her 40s
Yeah.
and she completely kind of changed.
She revamped herself. It's like
Yeah.
she found a new interest, which is something we always talk about here on the show. It's like no matter what stage of life you're in, she like got really into health and holistic things, and so it's like she started. Have you tried her little matcha gummies?
I haven't, but I keep seeing them everywhere. Have you
Yeah.
tried them?
No, but I want
Oh.
to. I
Okay.
want to.
Yeah, I keep seeing, what is it? Lemmy?
Yeah.
Is that what the brand is?
I think
Lemmy?
so.
Yeah, it's cute. It's
Yeah.
a cute brand.
Yeah. Speaking it, so I would, and then Kim, because I mean, she's just like, I feel like she's the main character in the show.
Totally.
It really is Kim,
Totally.
all day Kim, and she's had such a transition. We're not gonna talk about how she started.
And you know what? She played that to the best of her abilities.
That's a good way to describe that.
Yes.
To where she is now.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I have some questions for you.
Okay.
Which Kardashian do you identify with most and why?
Oh, gosh. I think Khloe.
Oh, why?
I think Khloe is just trying to, like, have fun, make the most of things. She can always find kind of, like, the good in any situation. Such a good mom, too. Like, I would, if I was a mom ever, maybe one day, I would love to be as involved as she is, even though she's running all these businesses.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Khloe. Maybe because I like her sense of humor, and I think maybe we have similar senses of humor as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
She's become like one of my favorites though. It's like she's had like such a chance, like she's again coming to her own, and that's got to be so hard doing that on a TV show.
Yeah.
I know I just love to watch it because it's like they're in their like mega mansions and their problems are like, we're not going to make the Versace show on time. And I'm like, oh man, you can get there on that private jet.
Yes.
You find another pilot who's not sick. You can get there. And it's just
You
kind of
can
like,
do it.
yeah. And then, you know, and I'm not trying to like discount their struggles because it, you know, they definitely have gone through the ringer with their personal family drama. But
and just public scrutiny in general. I mean, you know.
But it's nice to see how like it's a show where it's like there's still a family and it all really comes back to family. And I'm honestly kind of taken aback of how they pray a bunch on the show now.
Yeah, they really do. Which I think has always kind of been an underlying theme with that family, is that they've always, you know, really trusted in God and prayed, but they've never been super open about it in like the early seasons.
Yeah.
And now I think that they've definitely been more open and showcasing that a little bit more.
Yeah. Do you think, can you name what each company the girl has started?
Oh gosh.
So let's do
Courtney, Lemmy. Well, and then, she has like the website. What's it called?
Oh,
yeah.
Poosh.
Poosh. And then Kim has Skims. Chloe has Good American.
Yes.
Kylie has Kylie Cosmetics. Kendall has 818 Tequila. Rob has some sort of like socks, I think.
Oh, that's right. Oh, poor Rob. I always forget about him.
You know what? I just watched a clip of Kendall Jenner doing like, what's that? It's like a game where it's like you tell the truth or you eat something gross.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, she was doing that, and they were like, name best to worst parent out of your family, and she said Rob was the best parent out of her whole family. So I think he's probably thriving. He just doesn't want to be in the spotlight.
Yeah. I like that. So Skims opened up their first shop here in Austin.
Where?
Like the first one in the world. It's at the Domain.
Oh, I never go up there.
I went in last night because I just had to see it. They have all like the basics up there. And it was interesting to like feel the quality of things, because some things I was like, okay, why is this $60? It feels like it's like 20. But other things I was like, this looks like it could be.
Can you try stuff on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need
but
to go.
It's like it's a small shop and there's like mirrors everywhere. So like it feels super big, and you walk in and it's like probably 10 racks of like all the basics that she sells. But they're really big on saying like, this is the first Skim store in the world.
I wonder why she chose Austin.
I know. I was trying to look into it. I don't know, but I'm like, love that she picked Texas.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, there's got to be a reason, you know?
Especially Austin. Like, you would think if it was in Texas, it'd be like Dallas or something.
Right. Yeah.
But it was Austin.
But I guess a lot of people are transplants here, so maybe
a lot of people from California.
Yeah.
But they have even on like the bags, it says like Austin, Texas. And I'm like,
really?
I want to get something just so I can have a bag from Skims that says Austin, Texas. You have to go.
I have to go.
All right.
Is it just a pop-up or is it permanent?
It's a pop-up. They're like beta testing everything. And the guy there, like you could tell they were like from Los Angeles, like the main store, because I was asking questions and they were like very like straight up. I was like, so if I get something for my sister, can she like return it or exchange it like online? And they were like, no, we're still trying to beta test all of that. You know, this is basically just like if you want to test out like some of the base wear, you know, try it out and we'll help you out. So they're just like really honest about it. But it was cool.
Yeah.
Very like Kim-esque, very Skims. It feels very on brand.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not like you'll see. There's like curtains hanging down and everything's like a nude color, like, you know, Skims. And so it's an interesting feel.
It's
I think
a whole
that
experience.
Yeah. But it's not, I think if they create an actual store, it'll be very much zhuzhed up. Like right now, it's like very basic. Yeah. But yeah, you should definitely check it out. So speaking of Kim, she got her law degree, right?
I think she's still in the process.
But she passed the bar.
She passed the baby bar.
The baby bar.
Which California does it, I think, differently than Texas, because she's actually not even going to law school.
Right.
She's doing more of like a... not an internship. What do you call it?
Like apprenticeship?
Yes, an apprenticeship. And I think it's like 5 years instead of 3, I want to say. So she has to take multiple tests throughout. But yeah, she's determined, I think.
Yeah, it's again cool. She's just another girl out there exploring her interest, and it led her to a place where she wants to make change. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
really cool. So, one of her big cases was with Alice Johnson. Can you remind
Mm-hmm.
me what that case was about?
Yeah, so Alice Marie Johnson, she was sent to federal prison on basically like a nonviolent drug trafficking type scheme where she was not even the main person, but kind of got tagged as the main person.
Yeah.
And so she was sentenced to, I believe, mandatory 25 years minimum, no parole, and then a life sentence. So that would be, the rest of her life on parole, essentially. Um,
Oh my
and
gosh. But this is just for like selling drugs?
yeah, and I don't even think I think she just like transported them from one person to another.
Oh.
And so I don't know like every detail, but it was something like that. So it was a nonviolent offense. And she served 21 years in prison until Donald Trump commuted her sentence and she was released. And Kim Kardashian had a large part in that. And actually, Brett Tolman, my boss, he's actually met her and said that she was awesome.
Kim or
Kim.
Alice?
Kim.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So, oh my God, sorry. But I kicked
For
her.
all those just listening, she just kicked me in the
I
shin.
kicked her. My bad. But yeah, so Alice Marie Johnson, she was actually a senior fellow for Right on Crime for a little while, I think maybe a year or so.
Yeah, so Alice Johnson worked with TPPF as a senior fellow, which I think is awesome.
I think she spoke at now Texas Policy Summit a few
Yes.
years ago.
Yeah, that's the annual policy summit that we host here in Austin.
Yes.
So she worked with us, got out. The whole like bail situation, right? Where it's like she served years and years and years and years and years. Did you know anything about like her bail situation?
Well, so this would be like past bail. Like this was like sentence.
Got it.
Post bail.
This is why I don't work in criminal justice
Yeah, so
reform.
Taylor's bringing up bail because I've been working on this for what feels like forever in
Yes.
Texas.
Yes.
But yeah, so basically in Texas, bail, we're trying to make bail based on someone's risk rather than just ability to pay. So we've been working on that for a few years. There was actually a really, I guess, relevant case recently in Austin. A young woman was driving home from work. She got into like some sort of minor accident, and the man got out and shot and killed her. And
Like road rage?
yes,
Just
like a road rage incident. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And he fled the scene. Eventually, the fugitive task force in Texas found him. But his bail was set at $250,000 whenever he was arrested. Which, if he was an affluent person, he would only have to pay $25,000 to a bondsman in order to be released after just, murdering a woman in cold blood for literally no reason.
So you don't have to pay the full bail to get out?
No, so with a bondsman, you only have to pay like 10%. And actually, there's been cases like in Harris County and Houston and stuff where they're not even charging the full 10%. And the bondsmen basically have no real accountability when it comes to it, because if the bondsman releases someone and they get that $25K, let's say, they get to keep that $25K. If that person goes and reoffends, then they get rearrested. That initial bond is just null and void.
What?
So they never have to like pay up the full bond again.
That doesn't seem like a good incentivization structure.
No. Does not. Which, if anybody's interested, hit me up and I'll give you some of my ideas on how we can fix that. But
Love it.
but yeah, so he is still detained, thankfully. But the crazy thing is that if he was an affluent person, he could just pay the bond and be released again, even though he's clearly a danger to society.
Yeah, he shot and killed a woman.
Yes. And
A
he already had like, I think, a warrant out for not complying with his sex offender registry.
Oh my gosh, he's a sex offender too?
Yeah, so he already had a history. And the problem with this is that a judge cannot actually deny someone bail in Texas unless it's like capital murder, essentially, and a couple other stipulations that are kind of complicated. But
And sorry, capital murder, or
that would be murder of like a law enforcement officer or, you know, someone who's like a state official or like a young child.
okay.
So the judge cannot deny bail. It's not constitutional in Texas. So they just have to kind of guess how high is high enough for that person to not make bond.
And what do they base the bail on? Like salary, like the person's like wealth, or
So they're supposed to base it on someone's risk, like someone's criminal history. Previously they were never required to look at criminal history until after our 2021 session. But
wait,
now,
so previously they would just get a criminal. They wouldn't look at like past stuff. They just assess the current situation and be like, here's the bail.
yeah. So, I mean, they weren't required to. I think most magistrates and judges probably were, but they were not required to, which means, you know, maybe some people weren't.
Yeah.
So now that they're required to, they're supposed to consider all of that and kind of base it on what they think is going to be okay for public safety and also enough for them to appear in court.
That's how they do it now.
Yes.
So this guy that you're referring to who shot and killed this woman in road rage
Yes.
with a previous record, he has a bail set. So what is it now?
So it's $250,000.
Sorry, you said that like 10 times, but is he in jail right now?
He is. He is. Thankfully, he has not
Okay.
made bail because likely he doesn't have the $25,000 to give to a bondsman.
Okay.
But if he did,
He could just get out again. So what would you like to see changed in the bail reform arena?
yeah. So what we've been advocating for a long time is a constitutional amendment that would basically say that a judge could deny bail in very high risk cases, such as murder, such as aggravated sexual assault or aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And, you know, there's obviously stipulations if it's clear and convincing that nothing else will, you know, protect the public and those types of things. But, yeah, I mean, judges' hands are basically tied. I mean, they just have to kind of set a bail and hope, you know, even if they think that that person is a danger to society, they just have to set something.
Man. It just seems so like frustrating for the judges.
Yeah, I think I would be frustrated if I was a judge and I knew that somebody was seriously dangerous and I didn't know how else to detain them, you know?
Yeah, so in that situation, I kind of want to go back to when he shot her. I think a lot of people would hear, or not a lot of people, I think there's some people out there who would hear this story and think, this is why guns should be illegal. This is why we shouldn't have guns. If guns were illegal, this woman would have never been shot. What do you say to an argument like that?
I mean, from my understanding, he was already on the sex offender registry, so I'm making an assumption, but I'm assuming he was a convicted felon, which would mean that he was already not allowed to have a gun. So really, I mean, to me, I think if a criminal wants a gun, if someone who wants to shoot and kill people wants a gun, they're probably going to find that.
Yeah. So
despite if we, you know, made everyone who was a law-abiding citizen not have a gun.
yeah, exactly. So it's like, it doesn't matter if they can legally buy one or not, they are criminals and they will get their hands on criminal like stuff that's involved in criminal activity.
I would be interested too to know, yeah, if they looked into like how he got that gun and if he was allowed to have it. But
I would be curious if there was something that could like track guns in the system of just like how does it get into these people's hands?
well, I don't know. I mean, you can 3D print a gun now, so
That's right.
I mean,
I forgot about that.
I mean, yeah, I think it would kind of be impossible to do something like that.
Yeah.
For sure.
So this is like a good time to transition from Policy Pulse to Conservative Counsel. So I just have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
So in your experience, what challenges do you face as a young woman in the workforce? And then can you give any advice to other young women that are new in their careers? facing similar challenges?
Oh, gosh. Okay.
It's like you're young, you're coming into a new scene. What are some things, like, if you can recall any, that you're kind of like,
Yeah. I think, well, one thing that I definitely did when I was a little bit younger and newer in my career, I always tried to listen more than I spoke. Like, because then whenever you speak, people actually listen.
That's good.
So that would be some advice for sure. But at the same time, I think that maybe I was too quiet a lot of the time and didn't have my voice heard. So it's kind of like a balancing act of, allowing yourself to be open and be yourself and say what you think is right. And also not just trying to fill the air with noise.
Yeah.
Also, I was like so scared when I first started my career because I was 21 and I was just so scared of people finding out my age and thinking that I was like super immature and all these things. So I think I overcompensated and just didn't let my personality show for like ever. And so it took me like 2 years to kind of get into like the groove of at least balancing, like letting my personality show while still being professional. So
yeah, I remember when I first started working here and met you, like I heard that you were younger, like 22, and I was like, man, she just comes off like so mature. I would not have thought that she was like 21, 22 years old. Like that doesn't make any sense. And like you were so well respected here already.
Oh,
it was like
thank
your
you.
opinion really matters. So I was like, there's no way she is that young and has like that much maturity and authority in this situation.
That's so sweet, Taylor.
So
Thank
that's
you.
like great advice then, to just like listen and use your voice strategically, it sounds like.
Yes.
Strategically.
Yes, definitely.
So in this role, when you were young, professional setting, did you ever feel, this like imposter syndrome set in?
I still feel it. Are you kidding? Oh my gosh, yes. Like, especially after last session, I kind of had a little bit of a rough session. I did my best, but it wasn't the most successful. And I really dealt with it after that because I was just like, oh, why do I have this job? Like, why did they ever trust me with this job? Like, I am in no way like able to perform to the level that they expect. And so yeah, I deal with it a lot. But I think honestly, in those moments, I have just been honest with my mentors and bosses and everyone and just been like, I'm having a hard time. I just feel like I'm not performing. And, I think that just being honest about how you're feeling in those moments is actually really helpful because most of the time they are not upset. They know that you're just trying your best.
Yeah, that's really good. And that shows that you have good bosses too. And I would think like
100%, yeah.
for any of you guys that are bosses, it's like I think you want to cultivate an environment where especially those who are young feel comfortable coming to those in a leadership role and expressing like, hey, I feel like I'm failing here or I need more direction here and not feeling the pressure to just be perfect and act like you have everything together. Because I think that's when a lot of mistakes get made.
100%. And honest to God, I would not be like as successful, I guess you could say, as I am today without the people here who have really invested in me. So I am eternally grateful. But
I love it. Shout out to TPPF. Woo!
Yeah, shout out to Andrew, Derek, Brett. I'm like going down the laundry list.
Yeah. They've all been on different podcasts, y'all. So definitely be sure to listen to our friends over, on the other side of the wall. So what advice would you give to young women who are interested in doing what you do, like working in policy, but probably feel a little intimidated and aren't really sure where to start?
I say just try it out. I mean, you never know until you at least just try and put yourself out there, Like, I mean, if you're younger and still in like the internship phase, I say try different things as an intern. Try policy, try development, try comms, like see what you really enjoy. And then if you're trying to get into the space as like you've already done a career maybe, I mean, definitely dip your toes in the water maybe with like some lobbying first and then see if you like really want to like get into the policy, or if like you'd rather just kind of work in like the political space maybe.
Yeah, I think and especially because I think you hit the nail on the head with like the younger folks, or it's like you need to get involved, you need to intern, you need to fellowship,
Yeah.
all that good stuff. I think for those who are maybe like seeing a problem in their area and they want to be involved, they want to make a change, and they think policy might be the answer. I think it'd be really productive for them to go and get involved. Like we have rallies, we have events here, we have a bunch of things. Like you get in here, you meet the people, and then you just talk and you do your research. So start reading the articles. You could reach out to the author, right? Like here we have a bunch of people who write. You could reach out to them, ask them more on the subject, and then say like, how can I help?
Yeah.
Maybe you can write an op-ed yourself from your perspective that can be showcased like, you know, in the companies or in like the nonprofits sphere and like their website. And so you could write, you could like physically show up to different things. You could.
Well, and we even have like Liberty Leadership Council, LLC.
Yeah.
And I think if I didn't work here at 21, I definitely would have loved LLC, which I still do. Like I love going to LLC events, but luckily I just get to be a member since we work here. But I think that that's like a great resource as well. And I know that there's a ton of other things out there that's, you know, not just LLC. But.
Yeah. So LLC is our Liberty Leadership Council, and that's here at the foundation, and it's for 18 to 39-year-olds.
Is it 39 or 35? 39?
Unclear.
Ask
Either
Olivia.
way, we're in the
Ask Olivia.
we're in the demographic, and yeah, you get to come. It's really cool. They have chapters all over the state, and they get together, talk policy, have really fun events. They get really cool speakers, and you just get to be engaged in like your local area,
and also just around like-minded people who you can kind of like connect with and also learn from. I think that everyone in LLC is always doing like really interesting stuff, and they don't all like work in policy or politics at all. Like a lot of them do totally different things but are just interested. So
yeah. I think I'll end on this last question. So you mentioned that criminal justice policy wasn't something that you thought you'd end up in originally. And I'm similar because I didn't think I'd end up in policy. Although I will say a lot of, like most people in my family are not surprised that I ended up in policy. But, you know, I was a designer, so I was like, guys, there's no way. There's no way these two are going to meld. So we're similar in that regard. So what is your best advice for girls who are also in a line of work that they did not anticipate being in?
Well, I think especially in that kind of situation where you don't think that you're going to be in that line of work until you are, I think the imposter syndrome is even, you know, worse because you never felt prepared to do that because you weren't planning on it. So I think being confident that whoever has placed you there means they believe in you. And then also just to honestly like dive into it and learn, because I have taken time to study law terms, like criminal law terms and criminal procedure terms, and just to kind of teach myself a little bit more, but also just listen and ask questions and lean on the people who have been doing it a long time.
Yeah,
sure.
I completely agree with all of that. And I would just add, like, I think you can kind of be excited. I think you can kind of like high five yourself and be like, you know, this is not like a traditional place that I like foresaw myself being in, but it's really cool that I'm here now and I want to maximize my time. Like, I don't know if this is how you feel in your role, but for me, I'm like, man, I get to work in policy and design at the same time.
Yeah.
Like those were two fields I never saw converging. And I am so happy right where the X marks the spot that I am right there.
And I'll add one more thing.
Yeah.
I think that that's actually where a lot of really innovative things and ideas can come from, because, you know, when you're merging two things, there's a lot of innovation there. And I've started working on some like family diversion courts, right? So like trying to keep families together, but in the criminal justice space rather than the civil space.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Or, you know, I'm really interested in clearance rates, like how many cases law enforcement is closing. And like nobody else is really interested in that. But for some reason, it's just sparked my interest because I'm like, if I had a family member who was a victim of crime, I would want their case to be solved, right? So, you know, I think that there can be actually a really cool niche and innovation aspect to kind of jumping into a space that you weren't necessarily trained
Yeah,
quote
no,
unquote.
innovation is like the
Yeah.
perfect way to describe it. You become very innovative when you're
Yes.
in that spot.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a perfect way to wrap. Nikki, thank you so much for being on here and
Thank you,
talking about with the
Taylor.
Kardashians and bail reform and
All of the things.
all the things.
Well, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, so for people who want to follow your work and get to know you better and what you do, where can they follow you? How can they get in touch with you?
Okay.
Or maybe not personally in touch, like depends what you want to do with criminal
I'm like,
justice
here's
reform.
my cell phone. No. On Twitter, I am at Nikki Pressley _. Everything else, I would just say follow at Right on Crime. Those are my people, you know?
Those are your people.
And then if you want, you can email me, but I'll just probably tell you to call me.
Amazing. Cool. Well, Nikki, thank you so much. And ladies, that is a wrap for our latest episode on the Sweet Tea. We hope to see you next Friday.